We're diving into the new program Supporters by Audiomack, as well as talking to the founder of the Music Entrepreneur Club, Damien Ritter, on this episode of the 520 Collective Podcast. Let's go.
Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Flip of the watch, it's game time, game time. Message heavy, don't prime show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and ain't ready. Keep it steady, read it hard and they barely give them ears to hear the truth in the light. Throw confetti, message heavy, don't prime show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and ain't ready. Keep it steady, read it hard and they barely give them ears to hear the truth in the light. Throw confetti, just the flip of the watch, it's game time, Flip of the watch, it's game time, just the flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Flip of the watch, it's game time, just the flip of the watch, it's game time, flip of the watch, it's game time, 520. Flip of the watch, it's game time, 520. Flip of the watch, it's game time, 520.
All right, what's up? Welcome to the first episode of season 4 here on the 520 Collective Podcast. It's where music meets ministry and the indie artist takes center stage. I am Eric Boston. You can hit me up at EricBoston3 on Twitter. That's at Eric Boston and the number 3. And joining me on this episode is my guy Xeroforhire. What's good, bro?
What's up? Xeroforhire here on the 520 Collective Podcast. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You could have had anybody on the podcast. You know, I'm gonna be the fat chick that makes you prettier at the club. You just get the most.
I'm gonna go with it. I'm just gonna assume
you just
that
get
that's
the most unlikable podcast show host that you can find, and it instantly makes the banter better.
Right, there we go. Well, hey, tell people where they follow you at, man.
Yeah, I'm on minds.com/Xeroforhire, Xero for hire, and on Twitter. And you can see me commenting on everything that Eric does, because I have to jab him through the week.
Exactly. And like we said, it's the first episode, season 4. Here we are. Definitely glad that you are here and hosting with me. We got what I feel is a really good conversation for this show. Like we mentioned, we are going to be talking about the new program Supporters from Audiomack. They rolled that out. Let's see, when did they roll that out? It was like early December, I guess, is when they rolled that out.
I think that was their way of kicking off the new year with a new program, and they want to just really ride it out with a bang. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about the music business and the way just things work today, obviously digital and streaming is king. You know, there are people like myself who still like to purchase, physical copies of music, but I don't think we're ever going back to that as the primary way that music is consumed now. So the thing that artists have to ask themselves, and we've talked about it before, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again, is, okay, with this shift, how do we make money, right? And it's not easy. It's not easy, especially as an independent artist, to make money, especially if, these streaming services are your focus, right? But I love what Audiomack's doing, because they are combining a lot of different things on their platform, right? They have the streaming element to them. They have some really cool like social media type elements. They have an editorial section, and now not only do they have a way for artists to make a revenue stream with supporters, which we're going to get into the details of, but it's actually like their second revenue opportunity through their platform, because they have a monetization program as well that they've already had established called AMP. We're not really talking about that tonight, but I think it's cool that I guess it shows that Audiomack really does care about artists and wants to be able to do good things for them in order for them to succeed, right?
Yeah, and I think it also shows that they're serious about being competition to the status quo, because as long as we're just content with Spotify and Apple being that's what we do, then there's no reason for anybody to grow. But now that Audiomack is providing serious competition, I think that that's going to raise some eyebrows, and we'll see what happens on the rest of the year.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about some of the basics when it comes to this supporters program. Let's start there. So Audiomack, they're branding it as a way that they are enabling artists to generate a new revenue stream while also connecting with fans. I think organic discovery and having a platform that is definitely artist first is something that's at the heart of Audiomack. We had Brian Zizuk on here back in season 3, and he talked about how they really are about the artists, right? They do care, and I think just all the things that they're doing, all the steps they're taking shows that, right? And again, supporters, I believe, it's still early, right? We still got to see how it all plays out, but on paper, not only does it show that Audiomack cares about artists, but I think it just looks like a really good way to build something that is a little bit more sustainable rather than just putting music out and crossing your fingers and hoping it ends up on a playlist, right?
Yeah. I think also it is, I'm on my creator dashboard right now, and it looks like it's giving you some nuanced details, and yeah, it's inching you toward taking responsibility for your financial part of your career instead of just to spray and pray like we've been doing.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm really excited about is seeing the way that artists use this, because there is some kind of customizable approaches to it that artists can take with supporters through Audiomack. There's a few different aspects at play here, right? Let's talk about this one first. So the first part is why it's called supporters, and the main reason there, whenever you talk about the name supporters, is that I'm an artist. I release a new song or a new project. My fan base, my supporters, can actually do more than simply just listen. Right now, through the supporters program, they can go to the artist page and directly support a single or an album with financial contribution to it, right? So I mean, that's killer right off the bat, right? Because no longer are you talking about maybe making a fraction of a cent. Like, there's really no limit to how much someone can throw your way if they're wanting to support it and support your music. So that's awesome.
So with that being one of the direct features that we can point to, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I want to be a little bit playful here. What if we decided that it's better to give than to receive? Let's find somebody to, let's say I'll support with $10 for the month just to get the experience of that supporter, from that end, because I already know what it's like as an artist, but from the supporters end, I want to be able to experience that and know what I'm asking my friends to sign up for.
Yeah, so there's a few different things. One, whenever I decide to put money behind a project, right, as a fan, they have kind of like, it's almost like this video game element that's involved in supporters as well, which is honestly a smart move in my opinion, because, the video game culture is huge, right? You can kind of earn trophies or badges, whatever you want to call it, for different things, right? Like, you get rankings. You could be the first supporter, right? So you're the first person that's put money behind a song, right? Makes sense. And you get a trophy for that. You guys probably see it, like when we release new episodes of the podcast onto Audiomack, they send us custom graphics saying, hey, your content is now up, and it's a graphic that it looks nice, it's clean, and you can share it on your social medias. Well, they're doing that for supporters as well. So if you're the first supporter of the new Xeroforhire single, right, you're going to get that sent to your email, that graphic, and you can share it on your social media. So that's kind of cool. And
it's a way to kind of tie your support to tie yourself to the I don't know if tie myself is the right word.
Well, no, you're connecting. You're showing that you are
connecting, but it's like the badge on an old forum or like on a super chat. Like if you super chat $100 your name's going to be up there for a while, and everybody gets to see that you're the guy who has the top spot that day. So there's like a little competitive edge there.
Well, and that's a couple of other things that you can rank as, right? There's like the top supporter who's contributed the most to this project. And there's the latest who's done this most recently, you know, who's put money into it. And the cool thing about it too is that not only does that show up on my profile as a listener, right, where I can go back and see these trophies and whatnot, it also connects to the artist page as well. So you can go on there, you can see kind of who supported. It's going to show you, you know, who's the top supporter of this project. So you're there, right? So now not only do you know that you did this as a fan, but now other fans see this as well, right? And I think that was really smart for Audiomack to bring in this kind of video game element into this program, because it's another thing to just like hook people in, right? Like, I mean, people are all about, you know, like you said, you know, with Super Chat, I mean, there's a bunch of different things out there that you can earn badges and stuff on. And it's never necessarily been something that's huge for me, but I definitely see the trend and the interest in it. So I think good job for Audiomack for doing that. Now, for an artist though, not only are you getting the chance to, you know, bring in some legitimate revenue, hopefully through this program, you're getting a chance to actually build a fan base, right? So they, you know, it's not like Bandcamp where if you buy a project on there, you know, it collects your email and the artists get that and they can build an email list. It's not collecting emails. However, there's an internal messaging setup through Audiomack where whenever someone supports your release, artists can actually reach out to those supporters and talk to them and communicate through an instant message on Audiomack, which opens up a lot of new possibilities, right? Like, one thing I've been seeing is I've been seeing some artists saying, hey, if you go and you support any of my releases that I've got out, or if you go and support this particular release, I'm going to send you this unreleased song, which is really smart whenever you're talking about trying to build your fan base.
Exclusive content.
Yeah.
So you can have those extras. I'm interested to see how that's going to work out, because the internal messaging could be a good thing, depending on the artist and their fans. But yeah, like being able to get that follow up, you know, being able to have people reach out directly, hey, I like this and blah blah blah. I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, and I think
you can't do that on Spotify.
Exactly. You have no idea who's listening on a lot of these other platforms, right? Or let alone how to...
And I think that's what we need.
Yeah, let alone how to contact them. Because here's the thing. I was actually in a Twitter Spaces. So I hopped in this space. It was hosted by Damien Ritter, Music Entrepreneur Club, who is our interview on today's show. And he had David Ponce, who is the other co-founder of Audiomack, on there with him, talking about supporters, right? It was right after they rolled out the program. And one important thing that he said on there is that, yeah, it's not collecting emails for you. However, the fact that you can reach out and message those people who have supported your project, there's no reason why you can't ask them for their email, you know, through that message.
Well, yeah, if he's not opposed to it, then I guess that's good.
The thing about this is, and I think it's the same way with a lot of different tools, right? Because essentially, Audiomack in and of itself is a tool for artists, right? The same way Bandcamp is, the same way creating your own website or using any of the other streaming services. They're, at the end of the day, they're a tool. And it's how creative can you get as an artist? How much time do you want to invest thinking outside the box with these tools, you know, to accomplish what your end goals are? Right? So that's the thing that I'm excited to see, and what I want to challenge people, especially in the faith-based hip-hop space, right? Christian rap, CHH, gospel rap, whatever, is how creative are you guys going to be whenever it comes to this stuff? Because at the end of the day, most of the kind of complaints that we hear can be traced back and tied directly to revenue generation, right? Well, Audiomack, you know, a platform that's got over 7 million users on it, is now giving you tools where you can go and kind of come up with your way of how you're going to use it in order to increase your revenue. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, because I'm looking at I'm going back to my account here. It's not Xeroforhire, it's The Legend of Zero. And I've been on here for at least since 2017. Holy moly. I've been on here since 2017, using it the same way you would do SoundCloud and everything, except they do have those creative features. So how are you going to use it? How you can be creative with it?
Yeah, so as an artist, man, I mean, I know we've kind of, maybe hit on a few things that you weren't necessarily aware of before we started talking. So it's going to be kind of instant reaction. But from the artist side of Zero, like, what's your initial thought on, like, okay, I'm releasing a new song. How would you approach utilizing Audiomack and specifically driving your fan base, your audience, to supporters and trying to get the most out of this program? Like, what's your gut saying?
Oh, so yeah, gut feeling. This is a hypothetical. So let's say I plan to come out with five new singles this year. And I've already got them recorded and laid out and it's scheduled. And I just need to figure out how I want to release it. One thing I would do is I would do a short, quick 2.5-minute version of that song specifically for iTunes and Spotify, because that's all that matters on there. That's why people are only putting out 2.5-minute songs, because they just want that play count to keep going up. But then I would offer my fans the full version of the song on Audiomack, because I want to reward my supporters with more of what they love. Now, for the people who just want something on their playlist and they're just going to listen to it for a minute and a half, whatever, I'll give them the short Spotify streaming version. And so, it's a little extra work. You have to have the two versions of the song, but that's one thing I would do. Another thing is I would offer websites the exclusive release of particular singles. Let's say you put out a single, you want to put a single up on the other platforms in May, and maybe you want to give it to 520 Collective 2 weeks early. And you can only go to a specific page on 520 Collective, but even though it's being hosted on Spotify, and you still get to keep those streams and everything for later. I don't know, just off the top of my head, those are two ideas that I would use some of this stuff.
Yeah. And what about...
I didn't really incorporate the supporters today.
No, I mean, I think you got stuff that you can do, especially with Audiomack. Like, viewing it from specifically, like, artist to fan... artist to listener, what do you see yourself potentially trying there? Because I think that right there is the big key for this program.
A lot of it is gonna depend on the artist and their skills. Let's say you're a rapper and you can freestyle. Well, why not offer your supporters a happy birthday freestyle that's specific to them right there on the Audiomack page? Or you're a singer-songwriter and you play acoustic guitar, you could do something similar like that. You could offer your top supporters, like your top 3 supporters of the month, a shout-out at the end of your single. Rapper jargon, you know what I'm talking about there. We're always like, shout out to some esoteric label or brand or whatever that not everybody really knows about. Shout out your supporters the same way you would shout out your label. That's another 2 ideas.
Yeah, 100%. And
I'm sure I could come up with more if I really chew on it.
Well, and here's the thing, dude. This is what has me excited, and hopefully should have artists excited as well, is because, what's a difficult thing to figure out? A difficult thing whenever you're a young artist, just developing, is figuring out what your target audience is, right? What we were talking about just a little bit ago was, while it's great to get those streams and those listens on a platform like Spotify, again, you're not building that target audience because you have no idea who's listening. This right here allows you to figure out the kind of people that are listening to your music or are interested in your music. That's the biggest thing. It shows you the kind of people that are interested in your music, and you can interact with them, and then you can figure out, okay, so if this is the person that's listening to my music, now how do I target them in these other areas? How do I bring... Yeah,
I think it's a different class altogether. Because you have... What we're familiar with is... I don't really have a vocabulary for it, but you have the kind of artists who they just write songs about, they're going to make it and they're in the industry and they have fans or whatever they write about. And they put the stuff out there, and then if people listen to it, they listen to it. They hope that it gets playlisted and things. We all do that. But there's another class of artists who writes for his fan base. Like you take a DJ iRock Jesus, who, when he's recording his sets, when he's putting out his mixtape, who's your audience? My audience is my fans. That's how he responds every time. Because he's not worried about, who's going to hear it. He knows who's going to hear it. It's his fans. Like, that's a specific group that he plays to. So what do they like? That's what he writes. Or that's what he puts on his playlist. And I think this type of model is going to steer an artist in a direction of playing to your audience so that they are getting the experience that they want. And that will help you grow, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and then especially in today's world where live shows and touring, I'm not saying it doesn't happen now. It's just more difficult, right? And it used to be that right there is how you really got connected with a target audience, right? You would go, you would perform, maybe you were opening up for a bigger act, so you were able to get in front of their audience, and some of them you were able to convert into some people that would support you. But you would perform, and then you would get a chance to hang out and actually talk to people, right? And make that personal connection. So while that's more difficult now with just the hurdles involved with live performing, now you've got a tool that can help make those connections virtually, which isn't exactly the same, but it's better than the alternative of having no idea and having no way to talk to them, right? And while
and I really I actually kind of feel embarrassed because I'm not really, I qualify, but I'm not participating in the supporters program as an artist or as a supporter. And I think that we should probably circle back on this next month. Take some funds, drop $20 in 4 different accounts, pay them $5 a piece or something, and get a full experience as a consumer. But then also as an artist, we need to try to put that effort forth and be willing to fail, but be willing to succeed too and see what this is like. Because you'll never know if you don't do it.
Yeah. Well, and I encourage anyone that has, already kind of tapped in and started kind of experimenting and experiencing this program, reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts and your feedback. You can go to the Discord and talk to us in there. We'd love to hear it. The one thing I was going to say also, Zero, was that, I get that the amount of stuff out there for artists to do, especially if you're doing everything related to your career on your own, which a lot of independent people are, right?
Yeah, it can be exhausting.
Yeah, exactly. And
it can be daunting.
So I get it, collecting emails and creating an email list and then figuring out how do I write, a newsletter that's going to get people to open it and read it and this kind of stuff. I get it. It's not something that is exciting, especially for everybody, right? However, how many times a day do you send a DM on Twitter or Instagram or whatever? That's a lot easier, right? And you can do that now on Audiomack, right? And even if you don't have anything, if you don't have an unreleased song to share, right? I mean, eventually you'll get there, and you'll think about it and you'll figure it out and you'll piece it all together, right, on how to really take advantage of this program. But even if you don't have that right now, just making those connections and reaching out to those supporters, we got to remember, put yourself back into your set of shoes for you being a music fan, right? Just getting contacted by an artist that you like and having an interaction means a lot, and that endears them to you more so.
This could be a step back from the immediate interaction that a live stream provides, but if this allows you to upload tracks that are specific for your supporters and only your supporters can listen to and chime in on it, I would say go as far as, and this is super vulnerable, but build a song with your audience. Take a beat, say, here's my idea, first day in the studio, and then maybe this is the first version. Okay, this is after the 3rd session. This is after the 5th session. all the way until that song is ready for release. And let your audience chime in on that.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing too, man, is like, I feel like the creative ways to use this are really kind of limitless, right? I think that you can really come up with unique ways. Like, you can point those supporters, if you have a website, point them there. If you have a Discord server, point them there where they can interact with you on a regular basis and talk to you, or you can go live with them on Discord like what we do here, and what a lot of people do. I mean, you don't have to keep it underneath that Audiomack umbrella, and I think that was something that the founders were even kind of pointing out, like, hey, this is kind of a jumping off point. Where are you going to go with it from here? I don't know, man. I'm really interested to see what guys do, and I hope to see more faith-based artists taking advantage of platforms like Audiomack, man. I mean, there's some people that are on there. We're starting to see more pop up, but I want to see even more.
You guys need to be flooding this Audiomack zone because it's free to use. It's easy to use. Like I said, I've been using it since 2017.
The growth over the past year for Audiomack has been insane. I mean, basically whatever distributor you use for your music at this point, you should be able to get them to send your music directly to Audiomack for you. So that helps.
But I like that you can upload an MP3 and be able to compete and to be in the same ecosystem with mainstream and popular indie artists. Like, I'm on a trending thing right now, and I'm seeing 2 Chainz and Future and The Weeknd. Like, they're on Audiomack now. We had to struggle to get people to listen to this, and now you got The Weeknd on here. So I want to see V-Rose and Flame and bigger name Christian artists on here. You can find some of their songs, but they're usually uploaded by somebody else. But why isn't an F on here? Or is he? I don't know.
But my challenge is that we see more of the independent artists in this space popping up on here. And whenever you do, make sure you go and you follow our account, and I will go on there and I will follow you back. And I mean, this is kind of...
Let's create our own ecosystem.
Yeah, well, because another way that they have this social media aspect is with their re-upping system, right? So if I go and I listen to your song and I like it, I can re-up it, which is essentially like retweeting is on Twitter, right? So whoever's following you on your account, when you re-up, it ends up in their feed, right? So, I mean, it is like a retweet. And I don't know if just maybe people don't realize all the different aspects involved here and the little intricacies, but whenever you really look at it closely, it's impressive. It's impressive what Audiomack and their team has done, and it's understandable why they've shot up in popularity over the last couple of years. So yeah, man. So Audiomack supporters, I know my plan is to really dive into it more this year and get a chance to experience that and really support some artists that I want to say, hey, you are doing something special. Let me try to help out, right? So I'm
and if we find something nice, we'll pull together some money and throw something behind it.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to experiencing the program more. We are going to get ready to head on into our industry insider interview. As we said, it's with Damien Ritter. He is the founder of the Music Entrepreneur Club. He was also co-founder of Funk Volume Records, indie label based out of California. You guys might know the name of that. So make sure you stick around after the break and check out our interview with Dame. A little sneak peek into what's coming up throughout season 4. You're going to hear some interviews with the likes of MC Teal from Everybody's Hip Hop. We got our guy Poetics, who's going to be stopping back by the show. He was on the first season. Kelly Cole, Blacklick. Those are the ones that are confirmed, and we got some more that are in the works. They're just not quite there yet. So I think it's going to be a good season, man. I'm feeling really good about it. I'm ready to share this interview with our listeners, man. It's a really good one. Again, we got Damien Ritter, Music Entrepreneurs Club. I hope you guys enjoy it. Stick around for that, and then go and let us know what you thought about the interview with Dame, or what we talked about whenever it comes to Audiomack supporters. You can go hit us up on our social media accounts or join the Discord, and we would love to talk to you about that. We will catch you guys here on the next episode. Artist, what is the key to getting your music to your target listener? Making sure that your catalog is available where people are listening. Trackstars is helping independent artists do just that with Nectar Distro. Sign up for Nectar today to have your music delivered for you to all the major digital streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, SoundCloud, YouTube, and much, much more. Go to 520collective.com/nectar, that's NECTAR now, to sign up and keep 100% of your royalties along with all of your music rights. With monthly payouts, comprehensive reports, specialty tools like the Single Maximizer and account management services, along with a dedicated team that understands your needs as an artist, it really is hard to beat what Nectar Distro and Trackstars bring to the table. So hit up 520collective.com/nectar to get started now. Hey guys, I want to say thank you for listening to the 520 Collective podcast. This month's Industry Insider interview is coming up in just a moment. Before we listen in, make sure to check out 520collective.com. It is the home for indie news and faith-based hip-hop. Follow us on social media, including Twitter and Instagram at 520_co. Also, to get exclusive content, hit up our Audiomack account where you'll find extended interviews, playlists, and more. Let's jump into this month's interview. Welcome to this month's Industry Insider interview, brought to you officially by Bookkeeper247.com. What's up? Welcome to another Industry Insider interview here on the 520 Collective podcast. As always, we want to give a big shout out to the Bookkeeper 24/7 for sponsoring this interview. Make sure you check them out at tbk247.com. You guys already know what Daryl and the crew do for not only for the space, but man, they're getting ready to do some big things in this upcoming year. So make sure you go and support them. Follow what's happening with the Bookkeeper 24/7 at tbk247.com. Guys, you know me, I'm Eric Boston, and I'm excited for this interview, kicking off a new season here on 520 Collective Podcast. Joining me on the 520 Collective phone line, he is from the Music Entrepreneur Club, man, and so much more. He's been in part of music for quite a while. We'll dive into all of it, but joining me on the phone line right now is Mr. Damien Ritter. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Eric. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. What's the past year been like for you, man? I know you're just busy, period, and then add in just kind of the craziness that everyone's had to navigate and the adjustments that's had to take place. What's that look like on your end? Yeah,
it has been quite crazy. Obviously the world is in a tailspin, and for me professionally, I'm kind of all over the place at this point, and it's crazy. As much as I preach structure to artists, sometimes I feel like I'm losing mine. But I still do, like you said, I'm the founder of the Music Entrepreneur Club. So we have our weekly sessions. We have a podcast. So that is going strong. We're sponsored by BeatStars. So they've been super supportive of the platform. I've also gotten into comedy. So I've managed a couple of comedians. We got a live monthly show here in LA. They do really well on social media, and we're trying to, figure out how to make that jump from social media to television and film. So that's a new world that I'm getting into. It's almost like deja vu, because I used to run a record label, and prior to that, I didn't have any record label experience. So now kind of jumping into television and film, even though there's a lot of similarities between, just the entertainment industry as a whole, I feel like I'm doing it all over again, trying to figure out, the television and film space and how we can be successful in it. And then I have a project called 1 Week Notice. It started in 2018, and it was supposed to be an annual project, but that project is where we fly 6 artists out to a city, put them in a house, and task them with creating a project in a week. So we did that this past June, and the album just came out last week. So that's starting to relieve some of my stress a little bit as that content comes out. So yeah, that's something that we'll continue to do on an annual basis. I'm already kind of planning the next one for next year, trying to see who's involved, with platforms, with brands. And then we'll start, looking into how we select the artists, maybe early next year. So super busy, man. I feel scattered. Some days I feel like I'm on top of things. Other days, just kind of a mess.
That's what's up. And you mentioned Funk Volume. That was an independent label, right? And you ran that with Hobson. I mean, very successful independent label as well. I would say let's talk a little bit about that, and just, I guess, leading into it, just like how you got into music, kind of how long you've been part of this industry, because it all plays up to what you're doing now, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I got into music in 2008. That is when I got laid off from a consulting job in Chicago. And I was just trying to figure out, what I wanted to do next. It just so happened that my younger brother called me. He was going to UC Irvine at the time and said that he wanted to drop out of school and do music. And he seemed pretty passionate, pretty serious about it. And at the same time, Hobson was a friend of his from high school. He was in an equally frustrated position, but different. He was already signed to a label called Ruthless Records. But they wanted to start their own thing. So, we eventually got Hop out of the deal, and we teamed up to start Funk Volume, which was pretty successful for, it took a while to be successful, and nobody starts out just, making money right away. But it took us about 2-3 years to start having some good momentum. And then, we signed a couple more artists, Dizzy Wright, Sharon Benton, went on a nice little run. And then unfortunately, at the end of 2015, early 2016, me and Hobson butted heads in the most ridiculous fashion ever. And it crashed and burned. But that's how I got into music. So I think, with entrepreneurship, a lot of times you just take it, you see an opportunity and you just run with it, right? You just kind of take the chance, you just run with it. So that's kind of how I got into music. It wasn't something that I went to school for. I did go to school. I didn't go to school for music. But it wasn't something that I saw in my career path. It was just something, an opportunity that was presented to me, and then we just took it and ran with it.
Right. And you talked about going to school. I mean, you've got an MBA from Stanford, right? So, I mean, the whole entrepreneur thing it seems like it's something that's just a part of you. Almost like is that just something that you've always had?
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to start a business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea that it would be in the music industry. But yeah, I mean, I went to school, did my undergrad at UC Berkeley, went out into the working world, worked for some financial services company, went back to school at Stanford, got my MBA, and then I took a consulting job when I left Stanford, and that's the job that I got laid off from right before we started the label.
Wow. So, I mean, it's pretty cool seeing what you guys were able to accomplish with Funk Volume. I know that there was, success not only just on the charts, right? I mean, you guys put out Billboard charting, iTunes charting music, but I think just the level of just respect within the music industry itself that was able to garner puts you in a very unique place, and I think that's why it's really cool seeing what you guys have been able to do with Music Entrepreneur Club up to this point, and looking forward to seeing what comes next as well. So man, guys, again, joining me on the phone line, it is Damien Ritter. You may know him as Dame. He's a great follow on Twitter. I'm just going to give that a shout out right now. And before we go any further, man, where do they follow you at?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, fairly active on Twitter, Dame_MEC. Or you can find me on Instagram, Dame.MEC. Or just, follow the Music Entrepreneur Club page at Music Entrepreneur Club on IG and TikTok. We started posting a few things at TikTok, although we don't have very many people over there, but it exists.
Right, there you go. You got to be everywhere, right? Even if it's that right there is like stressful for me. I know that, like, it's like, dude, there's so many platforms and apps and all these different things that you can have your content on, and it can be a struggle sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely can get overwhelming. because all these platforms want you to use all of the different types of tools and services that exist within the platform. So for example, Instagram, they want you to use Story, and they want you to use Reels, and they want you to use the regular post, and they want you to go live. And every platform kind of wants you to use the different tools. So it's tough, and I understand when artists kind of complain about being on social media. I hear the complaints, but it's necessary. You got to carve out that time to create content for social media that's going to capture people's attention.
Yeah, man. I know that YouTube is something that does well for you as well. At least I think, if I'm trying to remember back, I feel like that's where I really started getting into some of your content. Was I think when I came across a interview you did for BeatStars with Brian Zizuk, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that you guys do you have that video aspect to your podcast as well. You do the interviews. What does video mean? You talked about it earlier, that artists, they have to have that visual component, and I mean, maybe now more so than ever. How important is the video aspect just for connecting with a new audience?
Man, it's crucial. I don't think you can do anything without a visual component, and it doesn't have to be super polished, super expensive. It really just has to be something creative and something that captures people's attention quickly, especially if you're a new creator or artist. I think that's probably the number one piece of feedback that I give on artist videos is just taking too long to start. People have very short attention spans, and if you have long intros to your video, or that nothing happens for a little while, people are just gonna click away or swipe up. But that visual component is a must these days. I just can't imagine an artist that does well with audio only. I'm not even sure how you start to get people's attention with just audio.
Well, let's talk about the Music Entrepreneur Club, man. So that's, started out, you've expanded a little bit here recently, and we'll get into that, but it started off with you and DJ Payne One, as we mentioned. Just take us back to the beginning, man. How did the idea for MEC kind of come about, and what were those kind of early steps like for you guys? Yeah,
well, I mean, I've been doing this type of work for a while. Even when Funk Volume existed, I hosted a couple virtual conferences because as I was learning the business, I just felt it was important to share what we were doing with other independent artists. So I think the first virtual conference, I want to say, was in maybe 2012 or 2013, and then we did another one in 2015. Facebook just reminded me, or brought back the flyer from the 2015 conference. So really the MEC is just the Funk Volume conference evolved, just because Funk Volume doesn't exist anymore. I felt like it was even more important, having gone through that, where a lot of the breakup was just because of a lack of understanding, a lack of business knowledge. I felt it was even more important, to have a platform that artists can turn to get some solid information, just because there's a lot of bad information out there. So the MEC, we started, I think it's been, maybe 5 or 6 years now. And we've gone through different iterations of what it looked like. It used to be a membership-based program that people paid for. And then BeatStars came in last year to sponsor it. So we made it free and available to everyone, where you can tap in twice a week, Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. And we have a session. I got a session today in about an hour and a half. So we have guests that come through on a weekly basis, and we just talk about different topics that I feel like artists need to be aware of. And it's been dope. We've gotten some great feedback, and people seem to enjoy and get a lot out of the session. So we continue to do it. We also have a podcast that we drop every Monday. And then we'll take the MEC on the road again once, COVID restrictions lift a little bit. Because we also tour the MEC. We hit different cities and basically just have panels and things in cities where that don't normally get, music conferences. So it's dope. So looking forward to getting back on the road.
100%, 100%. And we are looking forward for you guys to get that opportunity, because I know, I mean, just what I've kind of, dove into with MEC, and I'm not even an artist, like, I see the value there. So like, if you were to say, kind of wrap up the mission or the goal of MEC, like in just like a simple sentence, what would that be? Like, what are people coming to Music Entrepreneur Club to get?
So I would say they're coming to get information that you need if you want to build an independent business in the music industry. Because the people that we have on, have a lot of great experience. And even though there's different ways that you can maneuver these days to become successful, there are some common threads amongst those that are successful. So, I think it's a great platform to get the reality of what it's like to navigate the music industry.
Yes, sir. And I know that you guys have, you're building a community around this. And there's a lot of different places to tap in. Like where do people start? Like, where do you point them to? Like, hey, go here first. And then, what else is available? I know like there's a Discord server, that's a part of the community. Like where do you kind of start people out at?
Well, we never really got the Discord running. I mean, there's one that exists, but it's not very active. Where I point people to is just the Instagram page. You'll get, you'll be able to keep up with everything that we have going on if you just follow our Instagram page. And then we have a text number that we send out text alerts every time we go live. So if people text MEC, just the letters MEC to 844-206-7800. They'll get a text alert every time we go live right before our live session. Or they can go to our website, musicentrepreneurclub.com. But if you just go to our Instagram and follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to keep up with everything that we're doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you talked about, you guys go live, you have the podcast. I was actually listening to the newest episode this morning. And one thing that you've added, or one person that you've added, is someone that we're very familiar with here at 520 Collective. She's been on the podcast before. And I think if you're a part of like the Christian hip hop community, if you're plugged into that, then you know who Erin Knight is and what she brings to the table. Just talk a minute about bringing her onto the team, kind of like how did that happen, and what was it for you that you were like, yes, this is someone that I want around what's going on with the Music Entrepreneur Club?
Yeah. So Erin is somebody that I think we follow each other before I reached out to her, but I actually reached out to her to have one of her artists, Scotty ATL, on the MEC. So we were coordinating that, and I believe there was 1 week where he was scheduled to come on the MEC and he couldn't make it. I knew that she was a manager, so I was like, hey, would you want to fill in for him? So we had her on the MEC, and just during that live session, like once you've been in music for some time, like when you talk to people that get it, and it's apparent like right away, that this person has some real legit experience in the music industry, is super smart. So through that conversation, on the MEC, it was apparent to me that she was super sharp. And I felt just needed a new voice. It was me and Payne have been doing this for quite a few years now. And, I felt like we needed a new voice, preferably a woman's voice. And I just circled back with her and said, hey, would you want to, help us out? That's how that happened. And I'm super grateful for her support. And I look forward to, executing some of the ideas that she has to grow the brand.
Oh man, yeah, I know that she's got ideas, so we'll be looking forward to that, seeing what happens there, for sure. No, I think that you guys have a good dynamic building there. Whenever I listen to the episodes, I listen to you guys on Audiomack, so there's a plug for that as well. If anyone out there uses Audiomack, you can find the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast on there. Go make sure you give them a follow. And listen to those episodes when they drop. But, yeah, man, I see as you guys go along, and cause it's still early with her being a part of the team, I can see, the potential of what's coming down the line. And I'm excited because, like you said, there's a ton of knowledge between the three of you. And man, like I guess just when I listen to it, it's almost like you guys aren't even having to think about this stuff. Like, that's how well versed in this information it is. And I think that's another part of why people need to tap in, especially, you know, artists need to tap into what you guys are doing at the MEC.
I appreciate the feedback. I mean, we have been doing this for a long time, and I think that with that, you know, there's just a level of comfort, you know, talking about all types of different topics within the music industry, because we've probably had some firsthand experience with that topic. So I think there is just a level of comfort, and I'm glad that kind of is seen when people are listening. So yeah, I definitely would agree.
Yeah, man. And let's talk about just a little bit of kind of that just firsthand experience, firsthand knowledge, and like what kind of advice you would give to independent artists. You know, I'm sure there's some go-to, and I don't want to try to get every bit of info out of you, but like whenever you first come across and start interacting with an artist, like where's the place that you like to start as far as like what you share with them and some of like your, you know, just kind of go-to tips as far as like how an independent artist can grow their business essentially?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this is I can have advice for days, but I would say, you know, some of the most important things are definitely learn the business. It's not that complex of a business, but you have to take the time to learn it, and you have to continuously educate yourself because it's always evolving and changing. Different social media platforms are popping up. Platforms are changing. The way we listen to music is changing. You know, so I think that the education component is huge. You know, you want to surround yourself with the right people, good people that you can trust, people that are committed to being the best in their role as possible. So you want to develop a solid team. You know, you want to have a great content strategy. So not just music, but, you know, the visual component that we talked about. Like what is your story? What is your narrative? How are you going to share that story through your social media, through your merch, through your shows? Because there should be a constant, consistent theme throughout all the content that you put out. So I think that's a lot where artists just don't even think about it. They start rushing out content. They're not thinking about their brand. They're not thinking about their story, the different narratives that they should be crafting and sharing with their fans, because that's how their fans are going to, you know, connect with them on a deeper level. So I think those are definitely some of the things that, you know, that I talk to artists a lot about.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about how, you know, you did a lot of artist management over your time in this industry. I think one big question that I would love to ask you is just as an artist, what's your advice as far as like if they're thinking about maybe I need to get a manager? I feel like that's a big question that we see a lot. What is your thoughts there as far as like when's the right time to look into getting a manager and what should they be looking for?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people would just tell you, hey, you know, get a manager when you have something to manage. And I don't really agree with that because we didn't really have anything to manage right away when I started working with my brother at Hobson, but together, you know, we created something to manage. So I would say, you know, be open to a manager when you find somebody that is just as passionate, just as dedicated, and you guys have a shared vision for what you want to do. That's hard to find. That is hard to find before you have something to manage, though. So I think that's why a lot of people say just, you know, wait until you have something to manage. But if you have somebody that fits that description early, you know, there's nothing wrong with locking in and creating something to manage together, in my opinion. If you don't have this person, then you're going to have to, you know, start the journey alone and probably attract that person with the momentum that you build on your own. That's probably typically what happens. So you probably shouldn't start off with the expectation that you're going to have a manager early on, that you're going to have to build something on your own and attract people to the vision. So in terms of what to look for in a manager, somebody that is organized, somebody that is dedicated to the role, somebody that's continuously educating themselves, somebody that's good at building and connecting with people. Those are probably the top qualities, in my opinion, for a manager.
Perfect. So guys, I hope you're taking these notes down and applying them for sure. So as we look ahead and 2022, we're right up on it. I mean, I know you talked about the next installment of 1 Week Notice, but like as we're looking at the year to come, what are we going to be watching out for when it comes to Damien Ritter, whenever it comes to the Music Entrepreneur Club?
So for the Music Entrepreneur Club, we should be touring at some point in 2022. We also should have another iteration of our Collab for the Crown contest. That's a contest in which we kind of force artists to collaborate with each other in order to participate. So we're thinking about that right now. And then just continue to have our weekly sessions. For 1 Week Notice, going to try to make it bigger and better each year. So we'll figure out in the coming months, which platforms are going to support the project, but I'm going to try to get started earlier, in the year. But I'm not sure when it'll actually happen, but 1 Week Notice will happen next year. And then hopefully you start to see the comedians that I work with, Big Ja and Minx, on the big screen, in 2022. I mean, they've been in some stuff here and there, but in terms of, getting, their own show or a bigger role and a bigger recurring role, that's the goal for 2022. In addition to them touring as well, the whole crew is stupid. We'll take that all out on the road. And we'll do a nationwide tour for the whole crew is stupid as well.
There you go. And a little bit of a follow up on that as well. And I might be putting you on the spot just a little bit here, but if you were to kind of look out at just the music landscape, just within the music industry here, within the next year or couple of years, like if you were an artist trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, like what's something that you see on the horizon that artists should be preparing for within the music industry?
I mean, no matter what happens, in terms of how people are listening to music or NFTs or anything that happens, like it's always important to build your community, right? Like if you're able to build your community of fans, and you have a direct relationship, you own the communication with your fans, you get their emails, you get their phone numbers. No matter what changes in the music industry happen, if you own the connection with your community, you're going to be able to evolve with however people listen to music in the future, whatever services are available. So that's what I try to encourage artists to do, is to build community, amongst your fans. And try to own the communication with your fans. Try to get the phone numbers, get the email addresses. So no matter what happens to different social media platforms, no matter what new social media platforms exist in the future, you're going to be able to keep moving and growing as an artist, if you're successful at building community.
Yes, sir. Man, you mentioned a lot of things there that I feel like could lead into a whole nother discussion, but I know that, I know we need to be respectful of your time today, that you got, another live coming up here soon that you got to get to. So I'm going to hold off, and maybe I'll throw it out there that we can, reach out in the future, maybe get you to come back to the 520 Collective podcast and hit on some of these other ideas you just threw out there, if possible. We'll see.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
All right. So, again, before we wrap it up here, Dame, and get out so that you can get to your show. Just one more time, let the listeners know, where do they tap in, whether it's website, social media, whatever, where do you want them to be at to support what you have going and what the Music Entrepreneur Club has? I
would just say find us on Instagram at Music Entrepreneur Club. And then my personal page is dame.mec. And then on Twitter, dame_MEC. Reach out and tap into our live sessions. There's a lot of people that we have, that drop a lot of knowledge for free. These sessions are free to attend. And I think it sometimes can help save a lot of money as you avoid some mistakes early on, if you listen to what some of these folks are saying. So tap into our live session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate your time today, Dame, and just hopping on the podcast with us. We'll look forward to, communicating with you more in the future as well. So, and guys, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Like we said, the Bookkeeper 24/7. Check them out at tbk247.com, as well as the rest of our episode sponsors. And we will catch you guys on the next episode. All right, we're so glad that you tuned in for this episode of the 520 Collective Podcast. In fact, we don't want it to end here. Make sure to join our server on Discord and be part of the growing community that's centered around faith-based hip-hop. Let us know your thoughts about the topics covered in this episode and tap into a variety of live events. Go to 520collective.com/Discord now to join.